I'm not with you today, guys, but I'm in Ballarat at an appointment, so I'm sorry, please forgive me and get a look at those cute little eyes. Anyways, in my absence today, I expect 5 things from all of you. First and foremost, when you enter the room, you will see that there are worksheet handouts already located on the desks, and your name is in the top right hand corner. I want you to sit in the seat that I have assigned you. Number 2, I would really appreciate it if you could show me the uttermost respect by listening intently to the lecture that I've created for you. It's Saturday morning, it's about 11:30, and I expect this to take me quite a while, so please give me the respect in listening and watching what I present to you this morning. When it comes to the handout, which you will begin after you watch my lecture, I expect that you will complete the tasks on that handout to the best of your ability. Unlike the extra I left the other day when I was going through what people wrote, I was a little disappointed particularly in about 3 people who really seem to have given not much effort at all, and I don't expect that to ever happen again. I also want you to understand that when I'm not there, that the teacher in charge is an extension of me. So when you do not much for them, I take that personally and I see that as you saying, Miss G, that's what I think of you and your subject. So a lack of respect for that person is a lack of respect for me. But first and foremost, and most importantly for this year and in the entirety of next year, is the whole purpose of VCE R.E is to get you thinking critically about the world that you are in and the people within it. So, we are going to begin our critical thinking with this. The image that graces your screen is the iconic painting known as The Creation of Adam, which was painted over 500 years ago by the world-renowned artist Michelangelo. In 1505, Michelangelo was invited by the Pope, or the Roman Catholic Pope of the time, Pope Julius II, to paint the ceiling of the tomb, in which he wanted to be buried once he left this world for a more heavenly one. Michelangelo persuaded this Pope to let him paint an image that represented how the people of Michelangelo's time viewed their creation, viewed their relationship to God, viewed their relationship to their environment, and what Michelangelo termed as the way in which they saw imperfections, their struggles, and what they thought could be future challenges as mankind. Now I want you to train your eye to certain features and objects and expressions and actions that are revealed in this image that you have before you. And I really want you to begin thinking critically and thinking, what could possibly be the overall message that Michelangelo is trying to leave his world behind? What message is Michelangelo trying to portray to the people of his time? And what message lies in this image that still actually resonates with us in today's modern world? So looking at the picture, look for the following. This image is clearly dominated by 2 figures. The one on your right is clearly, and hopefully you've picked it, is God. God is depicted as an elderly white bearded, but as you can tell, he's very muscular. And God is portrayed as being propelled forward. Now look who's propelling him forward. He seems to be embraced and encaptured by wingless angels, and they're pushing him in a momentum in the direction of the naked man. Hopefully you can also tell that God is in a light robe, and we can see that his arms and legs are being exposed. And I believe that Michelangelo was doing this because he was trying to give the impression that physically God is not that dissimilar to you and I. Therefore, Michelangelo, in my viewpoint, and again this is just my view, is obviously indicating that God is an entity that is not untouchable and that God is not remote from us. He is someone that we can access, and he is intangible, or he is tangible if we allow him to be. Now I want you to train your eye to the left of the image now, so the left of the screen of what you're watching. and you will see the naked man. Unlike God, who was outstretched and afloat, the naked man who represents Adam, who obviously, if you know your history and the Bible, is the first man. Adam is depicted as a lounging figure who rather lackadaisically is responding to God's imminent touch. This touch represents not only giving life to Adam, but giving life to all mankind. Therefore, in my opinion, this image therefore represents the birth of the human race. But I don't think that Michelangelo wanted this image to be as straightforward and as simple as that. Through the clash of the colours, which you can obviously see, you can see that he's used vibrant reds and oranges, as in contrast to stormy greys, right down to the hand that is reaching up to grab Adam from the underworld. Michelangelo, in my viewpoint, is provoking his audience to question what they see. He's trying to shake them out of their complacency and to open their eyes and reveal that we have been given and afforded the greatest gift. And that gift is, we've been given the gift of life. Under the guidance of Michelangelo's brush, we were given an image of how people saw their world 500 years ago. We were given an insight to how people 500 years ago viewed God, viewed faith, and viewed religion. So the question I pose to you today, as you sit there in class staring up at this screen in room 10, is I pose to you today, is how does the creation of Adam image, the one that you see right there before you, compare to how we view God, faith, and religion today? Today, the religious images that adorn our TV screens, our social media pages, our nightly news bulletins, our morning newspapers are not like Michelangelo's creation of Adam painting, where the desire was to be one as humankind, but rather the religious images we see today highlight how we differ, what divides us, what separates us from them, what we loathe, what we detest, what we do not respect, what we resent, or even hate about those that are different to us, the other. Around the world daily, we see how hard it is for humankind to be propelled towards each other in unity, especially when there are people in our world that wish to highlight our differences rather than our similarities or sameness. Recent world events, such as what seems to be endless terrorist attacks, and you can see all the front pages there before you, all these front pages are from the last 2 or 3 years. Recent world events such as what seems to be endless terrorist attacks in the name and honour of God, faith and religion only help to make us fear more what we do not understand. The fear of the unknown. And that is a concept we're going to explore for the rest of this week.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on. We have no choice. We have no choice. According to Pew Research, among others, there is a great hatred toward Americans by large segments of the Muslim population. Most recently, a poll from Center for Security Policy released data showing 25% of those polled agreed that violence against Americans, these are people that are here, by the way, people here, 25, not 1%. By the way, 1% would be unacceptable. 1% is unacceptable. 25% of those polled agreed that violence against Americans here in the United States is justified as part, think of that, as part of the global jihad. They want to change your religion. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. Not going to happen.
Australia prides itself on being a place where everyone has an equal chance. A multicultural nation built on waves of immigration. But now, a wave of right-wing anti-Islamic sentiment is challenging that identity. What motivates those who seek to divide a nation? And how do those who are targeted fight back? I'm Steve Chow. On this episode of 101 East, we investigate both sides of Australia's cultural divide.
Put your fists up, be ready to fight, stand up, defend the history of our great nation. That's what a community is, that's what a nation is, that's what Australia is. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Across Australia, the fear of ISIS-inspired violence has created a growing intolerance towards the nation's Muslim community. Years of political rhetoric exploiting community fears about Muslims has left many Australians with a deep distrust of Islam.
The tentacles of the death cult have extended even here. Daesh is coming, if it can, for every person with a simple message: submit or die.
Following a series of lone wolf attacks on home soil and the recent violence in Paris, the fear has intensified and some people are taking to the streets in protest.
Since Paris, it's even more important that we try and get Australia safe from Islam, a disease that is spreading across the world and trying to take over everything.
A wave of ultra-nationalist groups have emerged with names like Australian Defence League, Reclaim Australia and the United Patriots Front, sharing their hatred and fear of Islam in a series of confrontational rallies. The leaders portray themselves as patriots, intent on saving the Australian way of life and defending the country from what they say is an Islamic cultural invasion.
They come here and rape our women and say they deserved it for not being covered up. Are you kidding me?
I am sick to death of everyone calling us goddamn racists and Nazis. You want to know what a real Aussie thinks? The people have risen up. We may end up in a civil war.
Despite Australian Muslims making up just 2% of the population and wielding little political power, many in their community are being subjected to hate, suspicion and fear on a daily basis.
We stand for freedom, ban the Quran.
Stop the Islamization of Australia.
We stand for freedom, ban the burqa.
They're trying to take over Australia.
We stand for freedom, ban halal, Islamic schools, mosques.
In the Sydney suburb of Lakemba, a group of women are fighting back with a series of tongue-in-cheek YouTube videos.
And action.
Don't you have a pedophile prophet to be worshipping?
Some children to be grooming, or some young girls to plan on raping with your Muslim mates.
Society needs muzzrats. Without them, there wouldn't be enough terrorist, putrid scum to justify armies.
And cut.
Yeah, muzzrats is one word that I'm struggling with.
A Muslim rat? I don't know.
We've decided to pull together Facebook comments and tweets that we've personally received, and we've pulled in people who have also received these sort of vitriolic comments, put them into a video together and really get people to see what Muslims are experiencing. You are not an Australian. You are not welcome in our country. You support ISIS.
Randa Abdel Fattah is an author best known for her novels which explore the experience of growing up as a Muslim in Australia.
They're getting more creative.
Yeah.
She's concerned that her children are facing a future where violent and racist vitriol towards Muslims is becoming commonplace.
Go home, you are an evil, racist woman. Mate, I don't have time to be evil, racist, and a woman. I've got 3 jobs, I've got 3 kids. Being evil is not on my agenda at the moment. Perfect.
Do you feel better after this?
Actually, I do. There is an element of empowerment when you're taking those negative words and you're throwing them back.
Humor is the answer to everything.
Yeah.
Definitely feel a lot better and a lot lighter just getting it off my chest.
It's therapeutic because when you hear this and read this day in, day out, it can really get you down.
So true.
Your evil views are hate-filled and racist. I'm the racist. A lot of people tell Muslims you're just playing the victim, and they actually don't realise the impact of these words. This is everyday language and everyday racism that Muslims are experiencing.
Assimilate, be damned. Why don't we?
When you are forming a circle around an entire community and saying you are all the same, you are a homogenous block of terrorists, of scum. This is racism, and we are going to advocate this as racism.
Assimilate, be damned. We don't want you here at all. Full stop.
Bendigo is a quiet country town with a rich history. Born in the gold rush of the 1850s, it's an unlikely flashpoint for the division, mistrust and paranoia currently surrounding Islam in Australia. The town council has given the go-ahead for the construction of a new mosque, and now the streets have become a battleground between those supporting the right to religious freedom and a clutch of newly formed ultra-nationalist groups who've been rallied here today by Blair Cottrell, the leader of the United Patriots Front.
Now, before I say anything else, I'd first like to congratulate you all on being such proud patriots. The Australian spirit isn't something that we can hold, it's something that lives in our hearts like an abstract thing, and we need to feel it or else it no longer exists. Do you feel it inside your hearts now? Yeah!
It's very encouraging to see this many people already here. The government needs to take note. It clearly sends a message of people's power. And I'm very proud that I can stand with the people of Bendigo and of all of Australia.
Yeah, we're going to be speaking.
Everybody in here, I need this gazebo cleared, please.
Represented today by Cottrell, its predominantly Caucasian membership is growing fast.
Nuclear rise without fear! The Patriots!
Thanks largely to an embrace of social media, sharing videos that range from angry calls to arms.
Our boys will riot the house down.
To a mock beheading on the doorstep of the Bendigo City Council.
He's often been called a born leader. And please put your hands together. Blair Cottrell.
I really appreciate you all coming here. It's fantastic to see that the Australian spirit still lives. This here, now, is what creates communities and nations. Togetherness, pride, love, the willingness to sacrifice not just some of your own time, but if necessary, your own life for the future of your people.
Cottrell is a controversial campaigner who appears inspired by German nationalism.
So now is the beginning of the strengthening of our people.
Posting on social media, he's called for Hitler's portrait to be hung in every Australian classroom.
The only way to stop us now is to kill us, and good luck.
The ALA may view mosques as a hotbed of violence, but on the other side of the country, Sydney's Muslim community are attempting to build bridges by inviting everyday Australians into their place of worship.
Welcome to the Mosque Open Day. How you going?
Well, today is a National Day of Unity, where basically the doors have been flung open for the community to come in. It's about engagement, it's about seeking, and it's about providing an avenue where we can get to know one another.
Can you explain what your headdress is, what it's called, and what it means?
We can imitate the Prophet Muhammad in his dress. It's like, for example, if a particular individual in the world wears a particular jacket, let's say like a superstar or singer, whatever the case may be, the next day it's sold out.
Before long, the conversation turns to questions about violence and the use of the Islamic religion by some to justify atrocities like the recent Paris attacks claimed by ISIS.
I think it's savage, the way that we have turned against each other and turned upon one another. Violence knows no ethnicity, knows no allegiance other than to its own ends, which is bloody.
go back historically and you see that religion has always been hijacked by certain individuals. So certain people will lay claim to a particular faith and they'll say this belongs to my faith, but in reality they've misquoted, they've taken something out of context. And I don't think that's new to faith.
There's a lot of misunderstandings that need to be cleared up. I wish there were more people here so that they could have the same experience that I had had. There are extremists on both sides who see that it's in their interests to stir up feelings of hate, revenge. As a whole society, we need to fight against that, and days like this can only help.
My husband and I were interested to come and see the Lakemba Mosque. The welcome was very warm. The thing that you always learn when you do things like this is how regular everyone is, how very Australian everyone is, the humour's the same. It's a great initiative.
I don't believe Australia is a racist country. I believe Australia is a country that needs more clarity. And I think sometimes when you do have strong rhetoric towards Islam, I think ultimately that does resonate from a misunderstanding.
For me, it was a learning curve because I got to see how basic some people's understanding is of Islam. I take that responsibility. Being born here and brought up here in Australia, that we haven't been able to communicate some core basic tenets and beliefs of Islam. People have said that multiculturalism has failed, and I think that the opposite is true. I think it has survived and it's thriving, and unfortunately that conversation now is being overrun by a few people who are quite loud.
This idea that Muslims represent a threat to the nation state is up there with the worst type of anti-Semitism that existed in Europe in the first half of the 20th century. And I think Islamophobia today is racist in a very similar way.
In response to the climate of fear and the increasing hatred shown towards Muslims in Australia, some residents in Sydney are gathering to show solidarity with the Islamic community in a rally to celebrate Australia's cultural diversity.
I'm here because I think Australia's been saying too many them and us's, raising all these paranoid fears about people who are different. I don't even like to think about things like Australian values. I like to think about human values.
Today is the annual walk together organised by Welcome to Australia. The intention is to cultivate a culture of welcome. People from all walks of life have gathered here today to celebrate the richness of diversity and the beauty that that brings to our community. I love you guys. You were here last year, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. I love it.
We're both from Australian Muslim Youth. With an organisation we've just started just to show the real meaning of Islam and show the wider community that we're not these extremists that everyone makes out to be. We are born and raised here, and just because we put the scarf on doesn't mean we're not Australian.
SSI for all your help taken today.
We're at a point where we know that there are people out there, young and old, who feel completely disenfranchised, and despite being born and bred in Australia, they feel completely disconnected with the rest of the country. So something like this is very much reaching out to everybody, irrespective of their background, and just affirming that love will always triumph hate.
We have bigots out there and racists that try to steal this flag away from us. It represents everyone. And we truly support that this country is a multicultural country. It is a country of rights, freedoms, and people are out here trying to take it away from us. This flag represents freedom for us.
Despite the optimism unleashed by today's rally, the great divide between the country's Muslim and non-Muslim communities is in danger of undermining Australia's multicultural identity, raising the question, what does being an Australian really mean today?
On October 30th, 1938, radio broadcasts across America were stopped with a panicked pause, and this is what America heard.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the latest bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. Toronto, Canada. Professor Morse of Macmillan University reports observing a total of 3 explosions on the planet Mars between the hours of 7:45 p.m. and 9:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, nearer home, comes a special bulletin from Trenton, New Jersey. It is reported that at 8:50 p.m. a huge flaming object, believed to be a meteorite, fell on a farm in the neighborhood of Grover's Mill, New Jersey, 22 miles from Trenton. The flash in the sky was visible within a radius of several hundred miles. We take you now to Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Ladies and gentlemen,
Well, I just got here. I haven't had a chance to look around yet. I guess that's it. Yes, I guess that's the thing directly in front of me. Half buried in a vast pit. Must have struck with terrific force. The ground is covered with splinters of a tree. It must have struck on its way down. But I can see the object itself doesn't look very much like a meteor. At least not the meteors I've seen. It looks more like a huge cylinder. Something's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, this is terrific. This end of the thing is beginning to flake off. The top is beginning to rotate like a screw, and the thing must be hollow. He's moving! Keep back there! Keep back there! Keep those men back! Keep back there! Keep those idiots back! Take off! The top's loose! Look out there! Stand back! Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most terrifying thing I've ever witnessed. Wait a minute. Someone calling someone or something. I can see turning out of that black hole two luminous discs. The eyes, this might be a face, might be almost but heavens, something wriggling out of the shadow like a gray snake. Now it's another one, and another one, and another one. They look like tentacles to me. I can see the thing's body now. It's large as a bear. It glistens like wet leather, but that face, ladies and gentlemen, it's indescribable. I can hardly force myself to keep looking at it. It's so awful. The eyes are black, and they gleam like a serpent. The mouth is kind of V-shaped with saliva dripping from its rimless lips. It seems to quiver and pulsate, and the monster, or whatever it is, can hardly move. It seems weighed down by possibly gravity or something. The thing's rising up now, and the crowd falls back. They've seen plenty. The most extraordinary experience, ladies and gentlemen. I can't find words. Well, I'll pull this microphone with me as I talk. Wait a minute. Something's happening. A humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Lord, they're turning into flames. Now the whole field's caught up by the woods, the bars, the gas tanks of the automobiles spreading everywhere. Coming this way now, about 20 yards to my right.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Grover's Mill. Evidently, there's some difficulty with our field transmission. However, we will return to that point at the earliest opportunity.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars. The battle which took place tonight at Grover Mills has ended in one of the most startling defeats ever suffered by an army in modern times. 7,000 men armed with rifles and machine guns pitted against the single fighting machine of the invaders from Mars. 120 known survivors. The rest strewn over the battle area from Grover's Mill to Plainsboro, crushed and trampled to death under the metal feet of the monster, or burned to cinders by its heat ray. The monster is now in control of the middle section of New Jersey and has effectively cut the state through its center. Communication lines are down from Pennsylvania to the Atlantic Ocean.
This nationwide broadcast across America created absolute panic and havoc. Millions of Americans truly believed that what they were listening to on the radio was a real Martian invasion, that Martians from Mars had descended across the great lands of America and were now in their way to entrapping American civilians and killing them. Panic broke out across the country. In New Jersey, which is just outside of New York, terrified civilians were jamming highways as they were trying to escape these alien intruders. People were begging police for gas masks, so they were trying to get the police to give them gas masks to save them from the supposed toxic gas, and they were asking electric companies to turn off the power so that the Martians wouldn't be able to see their lights. One woman ran into a church in Indianapolis and during the evening services, and she ran in and she yelled, "New York has been destroyed. It's the end of the world. Go home and prepare to die." This radio broadcast was a stunt because if anyone knows, October the 30th is Halloween, and it was a radio stunt by a legendary, absolute, mind-blowing guy who went on to create some of the greatest films in history, a man by the name of Orson Welles. And what he was trying to do was he was trying to see how much panic he could provoke within a population when people feared something that they did not understand, that they did not tolerate, when they feared something that they thought would divide us, would blockade us, would pit us against our against our better selves. This iconic broadcast was part of a drama, which is more commonly known today as War of the Worlds, and some of you may have picked that from the image of the alien hand on the world. War of the Worlds was a radio drama designed to present a series of simulated news bulletins which suggested an actual alien invasion by Martians was in progress across the United States of America. So, beginning in our next single, we are going to watch the film War of the Worlds. And the reason that you are gaining the privilege to watch a film in RE, okay? And behold, unlike this year and other years of RE, you're not just going to watch films for the sake of it. You're going to watch films because they're purposeful and they're going to be relevant to what you're learning, okay? So the reason that we're watching this film is because it demonstrates everything that I've just harped on about in this lecture. And that is that we naturally and instinctively fear anyone or anything that we perceive to be different to ourselves. So a major theme going into next year for VCE R.E. is this concept of the other. And I hope that you will walk away from a year with me understanding and learning that perceived differences we have towards other cultures and other religions can always be overcome by finding some similarity or connection. So in order to watch the film with me next lesson, I ask that you answer the set questions that you can find on the handout that is located on your desk. And, as always,
for all of us here at News Center 4, I'm Ron Burgundy. You stay classy, San Diego.